Computer. Lights.
Hey guys, happy Friday. And we are here with Pepper, who is working while we're doing this.
Well, I'm doing some sketches based off of. I am changing the names to protect the innocent here, type story. I have to do some character mock-ups for a person who agreed to the story that I liked. That I pitched and all that fun stuff. So
Awesome.
But basically, everyone in the story is based off of a family member of mine when we were younger. So luckily, I can change all the names and everything of everyone involved. And one of the people, like the adult of the story that's in the household, is she has passed away. So it's not like a...
Wait, what? You have adults?
Yeah, adults.
Adults.
Parental figures.
Right.
They were involved after the fact. Yeah. So it's just basically a story that's very common to anyone who grows up in Florida. Like pretty much everyone has a story of, when they met their first gator wrangler.
Right. We've been working on this one for a couple of weeks, I remember.
Yeah.
So you're cranking on that one, trying to do sketches for it.
Just for the show today, because I have gotten to the comic project that I've been working on that I was supposed to be done last week. Now I'm on week 2 of the first week of crunching the deadline. This week, let's just say I've not been having a really good art moment. I have been awake since 10 a.m. yesterday.
Wow.
I did take a nap yesterday. I did take a nap yesterday
right.
for like about an hour collectively. But then I just got right back up and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. At some point in time, I have diminishing returns. I noticed, because I did that with the animation project a couple of weeks back. I just started to get to the point where I wasn't sleeping, and I just started to get diminishing returns and made more and more mistakes.
Well, so luckily for this, I don't have diminishing returns. All the coloring aspects have done. All important pages have been covered.
Sure.
So these are all the pages that are in between.
Right.
That I'm trying to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And also at the same time, I have to have my artwork reviewed by the writer, which, if he chimes in, we will get a messages from Bill.
Right.
Sorry, I'm reading Threads. What's up?
He's reading Threads, so he's now asking what's up because I mentioned his name.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all good. So I get that. That's kind of cool in its own disturbing sort of way.
Yeah. So.
So that's what you've been doing, huh?
Yep.
For better or for worse. Sometimes worse. Well, that's cool in its own, as I said, disturbing sort of way. I, on the other hand, managed to get 12 pages of comic book broken down over this last week. And so I am right now setting up the actual pages, like honest to God pages. It's amazing. I'm astonished.
Cool.
Which, that is a thing. But I broke the script down into 12 pages. And that's literally one of the 4 scenes in there. That's nice. So this is going to be an epic project all of a sudden because there's 4 scenes and required all 12 pages to do one scene. So I'm like, woo, that's a thing. So
Okay, Dragon Ball Z.
yeah, I know, right? That's totally what I'm thinking. I'm like, how did I end up doing this? So it's a thing, but that's okay. So yeah, now I'm going through and just opening each one of the master pages and making sure that they are lettered or numbered properly.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't screw them up and get confused somewhere along the line and work on the wrong page, which, that has happened before. I am not a methodical person. I have learned this in my life. I'm not very methodical. I try to be, but as an ADDer, I have a real problem with being methodical. I mean, if I concentrate really hard, I can do it, but it is one of those I have to devote like 120% to being methodical. And so it's not comfortable and it's not easy and, stuff like that. So things like what I'm doing here, which is open a file, write a number, close the file, open the next file, write a number, close the file. That's hard for me. It's really difficult for me to do. But also, I am notorious for thinking I was on page 4 and drawing a whole lot on page 5, and then realizing that I've spent the last 4 hours drawing everything on page 5 that was supposed to be on page 4 and really messing it up and then having to back up quite a ways. So
if it makes you feel any better, I switched to the pages that I'm working on, and the only reason why I caught it was the fact of, yeah, that's not supposed to be that way.
Right. And I noticed that I routinely manage to somehow catch it. I mean, I've never yet released a comic to a client that was screwed up in some way. But I haven't managed to stop myself from having to cost myself 2 or 3 hours worth of work. Like that, I just screwed up. Because I wrote the number on the sketch layer. Not, in fact, on the background. So now I have to go through here, delete. So, I catch it, I just caught it now. But, I'm going to have to go through and, oops, just deleted the entire layer. You know what I mean? It's like this becomes a phenomenal pain in the butt just to fix it. I just cost myself, whatever is that amount of time there. Only takes me a second to load it, write a number, close it. But that time I just messed it up really bad. What are you doing? Oh, you're after a bug. Oh, good job. Do your job, George. Good job. Please do not destroy the house while trying to catch the bug.
Yes, that is actually a very good point to say to a 2-year-old cat.
Right? Well, he's also big now, and so like he doesn't know it. He thinks he's still a kitten, like a little thing, and so he'll go tearing. And he's like Tom sized now. You know, you guys have seen him. He's been on here a couple of times. He's big. He's a big cat, and he thinks he's tiny, and he's not. And so he just tears through stuff, knocking things over. It's like,
Hey, you signed the property destruction waiver when you hired him.
right? Exactly. That was like part of the deal. You know, I will find bugs for you, but I waive all responsibility to property destruction. That's true. Truer words, Bill. Truer words have never been spoken. So one other thing I did do this week was finish this piece on Watercolor Wednesday, which looks lovely. And it's hard to see all the wonderful gold and silver on it because I used my gold and silver paints. But I like put some silver in just some sections of the hull so that like it just shines in certain spots. And then I put the gold on the navigational deflectors and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm very proud of that piece. That piece looks really nice. Your blue is gorgeous. We knew that.
Well, yeah, so, I know that.
Yeah, you knew that. You knew that. So that was cool. We've had it's been a good week for me. I've done a lot of good work. On Monday we put 60-70. You mean my painting? Well, thank you, Ghost Hand. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, this is the new, ironically, new Enterprise from Strange New Worlds, which is supposed to be the old Enterprise, just sort of, painted up a little. And then this is what we call a Daedalus class ship in the background. I just love these things. I love to draw, like, hey, Brent, it's good to see you, buddy. I love those obscure Star Trek ships. They are my favorites. Like Daedalus classes and like weird DY class ships. Are you still chasing that bug? He's causing all kinds of havoc over there. The bug keeps going back and forth through the house, so he's having issues with this. But welcome back, Ghost Hand. We were wondering about you yesterday. In fact, yesterday I did a really great show because we broke the script into pages, and I was really proud of that show because I explained my thought process behind why I set the scene up a certain way and what I was trying to do as far as imagery went. And like, I had one viewer through most of the show, and I'm like, "Aw," it was like really sad. So it's like, this is like the best show. I got the most information in it. So if you guys want to know my thought process behind breaking a script down, head to yesterday's show. It was a good show. So, I keep saying to Ghost Hand, like, I know it's heading for winter there, but then last night I was looking around for ideal launch sites for rockets and things like that, if I could place a launch site anywhere in the world. And I found out that northern Brazil is probably like the best launch site ever, which makes sense because the ESA launches from French Guiana, which is just above Brazil. And they do it because the way that orbital dynamics works, the closer to the equator that you are, the more the Earth gives your rocket a sling and pushes it into orbit. So the further away from the equator you are, the worse, or well, not the worse, but you lose some of orbital momentum from the planet. The best place to launch a rocket is right at the equator. So the ESA launches from French Guiana, but I realized that the equator runs through like the middle of Brazil. So I was like, well,
Well, that's why.
Really, it's not getting that much. It's just not getting that much.
Florida. That's why America used Florida for launching for so long.
And still does.
Yep.
And that's why we still use Boca Chica in Texas, is because it's the same thing. It's the furthest south you can go. Yes, that was my thought too. It is a long way. That northern part of Brazil right up there is a long, long way from like a large city. So you couldn't get like Brazil's infrastructure to help it. You know, you couldn't get assistance from Brazil to get in there, because it's, what is that, Macapa? Yeah. So, and Amapa. So that's the state and stuff like that. I was looking at the maps there, and I was like doing map stuff. Which, I mean, the other great alternative was just outside of Mount Kenya, which we were looking at, which would have been just the other side of Lake Victoria. The idea being, if we can get some altitude as well, then altitude will help you because of max Q, the pressure on the spacecraft as it goes up through the atmosphere. The less atmosphere you have to deal with, the better. The problem is temperature at that point in time. You know, you don't want to freeze your rocket and stuff like that. So that was where we were just doing speculation of, if you could place, you know, politics aside, yeah, yay, that would be the entire politics that I was talking about. Oh, and why do they have to get in there? Why do they have to mess with everything? Because they're messing with our system too. The reason why you go to Japan and you can get on a train and go anywhere, but you go to America and you'll be lucky if you can get, you know, to your destination within 4 or 5 hours. Like that's true here in Denver. We've got trains, but the trains are infrequent, and they transfer in weird places, and they have to slow down to 20 miles an hour through residential areas. And it's like all these weird rules that means that taking a train from, let's say, where we are in the north part of town to the south part of town where the tech center is, where all the tech jobs are, it takes like 2 hours to get there, 2 hours to get back.
The light rail isn't too bad from my understanding. However,
it is from Arvada. The G line didn't help, and I wish the G line had been better positioned. But the G line and the B both have these weird, bizarre schedules that make it so that you pretty much have to leave at 5 a.m. to get to work on time, sort of things. And it's like, if you get into the main corridor, the I-25 corridor, where the H and the F and all of those are, that's great. That is awesome. I love that. But you pretty much have to drive to like Broadway Station and then leave your car there. You know, like that's how we used to do Comic-Con, was we would drive to Broadway Station and leave our car there and then hop the train in, because it goes straight to the convention center. And so we just go straight to the convention center and get out, and then we were there. And then all we had to do was hop the train back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I guess it must be like an assessment of how many people, you know, like they had to balance it. I think the big thing, if they could ever get the Denver Boulder and the Denver Colorado Springs runs to work, and Denver Fort Collins, those would be absolutely awesome.
Well, so when I went to college the first time around, I constantly had to go back and forth between family and stuff. Ghost Hand, like I'm kind of speaking to this, like
Sao Paulo
that is talking
has a
about
lot of
Denver.
cool stuff, though.
However, I am not originally from Colorado. I am from Florida, and Miami's transit system, when I lived there, every 15 minutes a bus would be there. Every 10 minutes, the People Mover, which is basically a free thing that goes directly in a circle in the middle of the city.
Right.
That's like every 5 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
Somewhere
See,
in
that's
between
what
there.
we don't have here is we don't have a loop train.
And we have a direct line that goes from northern Miami all the way to southern Miami that you can get on. Now, you can get on that line and then go to what is known as the Tri-Rail. The Tri-Rail is the longest way.
Right.
And the Tri-Rail is called the Tri-Rail because it goes between 3 counties.
Right.
So you can literally hop on it in where I'm originally from in Florida, and you can go all the way down to Miami.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think you just said it right there. It's a matter of the 16th Street bus is good in Denver. In fact, that's another thing we would do when we went to. Once you're in downtown, the bus system works really well.
Yeah.
The hard part's out here in the neighborhoods out in the suburbs where things get really weird. But the circle thing is what you were just talking about, and I was just thinking about that. That's true to Tokyo. Like, let's say we just talk about Tokyo. The Yamanote, which is the one that goes around the outside of Tokyo, is there every 15 minutes going either direction. It has 20 cars on it, so it can load a ton of people and everything like that. And then they have the Chuo, which goes right through the middle of Tokyo. So you can take the Yamanote around and then the Chuo through the middle of town if you need to. And then, of course, a number of trains that go through from, let's say, Tokyo Station. You know, if you get to Tokyo Station, you can go all over the place. Hey, Bill, says Brent.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, and
Messages from Bill.
Messages from Bill.
The only public transit stuff I ever had to do with is a friend of mine went to Northeastern University in Boston, and I would go up to visit him, and we would take the T, which is their transit system there, everywhere in the city, out of the city, buses, the rail systems, and everything. And it was pretty good for my experience. I liked it. So
I feel like Austin has it under control. Like, they really did a good job on it. But I mean, I feel like that soon RTD will figure it out here, but I think we definitely need a loop. We need something that goes around the outside, maybe follows C470 and then comes back up through E470 so that it makes that loop. And then that would be like Golden to Union Station to Aurora to, like way south near the edge of town where, what is that? Lockerbie? No, Lockerbie's out east. So like way south and then back up and around so that it's in this sort of loop. I think that would help a lot.
Well, the other thing about the Miami one that I was talking about, and it's funny that you compare it to to the one in Japan that you experienced.
Yep.
Yes, Brent Parker. That is the one that you're.
Thank you,
Parker. About. Is the People Mover the one that goes into a loop? There's actually like 5 loops that you can interchange with. The entire system was brought over and actually coordinated with a Japanese engineer.
That makes sense.
Basically, their cars, the way that because it's a monorail system,
right?
Everything's set up very much like as if you were in Japan. So,
right. A friend of mine in Colorado Springs, we used to talk that we would love if they made a train system that went through Colorado and went around and went through all the major parks. So south through the Grand Canyon or north through Yellowstone and just looped back around. That would be like amazing. We would be a huge tourist destination if that were the case, because you just come to Denver and then you go through all the parks and you hang out in Colorado.
That was on the docket a number of times with a number of our presidents.
I voted for it. I voted
was for
for
high
it
speed
every
rail.
single time I've seen it. Yep.
That's another thing. 3 hours. It takes 3 hours to get from Tokyo to Osaka. That's a long distance. But those bullet trains, they get up to about 150 miles an hour. And they just tootle along, and you're like, well, there you go.
I mean, shot. It's not like you're. It's not like you're. Whatchamacallit? Sorry, my like nose is like oily and crap. It's funny because like someone was sitting there saying like, oh well, how long does because the tri-rail that I experienced when I was in college, it was when it was going fast, it was about like 175 miles an hour.
Right.
However, the beauty of America, they decided to work on the railway system. So I would have a trip going from Miami to Palm Beach County for my drop-off point because I was going to the last stop.
Right.
And normally, if it was working properly, I could get there within, I want to say, 2.5 hours.
Sure.
But when they basically, because you guys were talking about like 20 miles an hour in residency, right?
Yeah, that's the problem.
They had the train slow down to 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with bullet trains.
Yeah.
But I'm actually looking through my pictures here because I took the TGV from Frankfurt to Paris, and that was a lot of fun. The European bullet trains are different than the Japanese bullet trains, but they were still no slackers on this one. The best part was that you could get the app, and once you got the app, it would tell you how fast you were and where you were going. And yeah, so we were at 249 kilometers an hour, 250, and we would get faster and faster and faster. I think we passed 300 kilometers an hour somewhere along the line. I seem to remember I took a picture of it because we passed 300 kilometers an hour, and I'm like, this is so awesome. I was so easily entertained. But I mean,
yeah,
it's a thing, right? Well, and you know me well. That it's trains. I love trains. I'm trying to. I realized the other day that saying that I travel the world on my stomach seems like it's probably concentrating a little too much on food. So I'm going to travel the world on their infrastructure. Now I go for trains. No, we're a car culture, and we always have been. It's an individual vehicle culture, and I feel like we're very individualistic as a nation, and so it sort of fits that we don't have sort of a group transportation system, but it also means that zillions of people die all the time in car accidents, and it means also that cars become a gateway to employment and living well and things like that, which that's not a good thing. It becomes a barrier. If you don't have a working car, you can't get a job and stuff like that, because everything's spaced out all over the place.
I would say yes, that is probably the case. Because I do know that, like, for the most part, when I was in Miami, if I was applying for a job that actually was a step up, basically, like in an office,
yeah.
if I was told by my college person that was helping me find work, that if they see me on my bike, locking the bike outside on the bike rack, I lost the interview
No,
immediately.
Gotcha.
But that's
Yeah,
also
you're right.
That's how America is, because that's the culture that we have.
But in
Yeah.
contrast, we also have an extremely vibrant used car market compared to other countries.
Yes,
Extremely
but
vibrant. What? I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
Used car market.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is true too. Weirdly true. Here we go. I actually found I was doing 319 kilometers an hour heading out of Paris. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Because the TTV is awesome. I you know what? I am duly impressed by trains, and I was all excited to be on this train, and we were zooming along at 319 kilometers an hour, and we passed 300 kilometers an hour. I was all excited. Anyway, I know somewhere I took pictures of us on a bullet train, probably when we were heading out to Kyoto. So I think I took a picture of, because that's trip to Yokohama. I feel like when did we go to Kyoto? Oh, there's the Kyoto trip. So yeah, because I was all excited about that one. I was like, ooh, look at us go. So anyway, but we have a very strong, I actually wanted to do that too, the Trans-Siberian Railroad. I really did. That's like one of my bucket list things that I'm, mostly because it goes through Baikonur, which, what are you, you little pest? I hear him. Which, if you go to Baikonur, then I could probably see if I couldn't stop at Star City and maybe, hang out with the Soyuz, because Soyuz. I have a not totally unreasonable love of large machines. So I know I took pictures of the speed thing. We were speeding thingy on the trains, and I don't know why I don't see pictures of it. I took pictures out the window of my bullet train, but I don't see the pictures actually in the bullet train. I don't know why. Guess, did we do that twice? I don't know. Anyway, so there's a lot of screaming going on out there. Oriental Express is another one that would be fun to take, except that you get murdered on it. Haven't you watched the movies? Some people. We have to tell you everything.
Last time I checked, that's an Agatha Christie novel.
Right? You get murdered on it.
I mean, let's be realistic and all. It was a novel before it was a movie. The book's way better.
Yep. Did we go multiple times to Kyoto? What is it? Because I remember taking pictures.
I just have to put some ink on it to be sketchy.
Let me see. I was turned away. Death on the Nile. It's hard to see. Oh, there we go. It settles in a second.
Yeah. It's fine. I am going to get a black pen, I think. Need to go through my pens and find the one I want.
I drove to Nico. Okay, there we go. Let's see if I can find. My kids went to Kyoto. That didn't help me any. I'm like, I know I have a Kyoto trip somewhere. where I took a picture of that. I need to organize this stuff so it's all in the same spot. Because like I did a lot of stuff. Oh, there we go. Hiroshima. That's what it was. It wasn't Kyoto, it was Hiroshima. That's why I don't remember or why I can't find it. We took a bullet train to Hiroshima and Miyajima, which Miyajima is a wonderful little island full of deer. And the deer are like really friendly.
Deer Island, you mean?
Yeah, it's totally Deer Island. Like, for example, here is my wife trying to convince this deer that this deer was not, in fact, going to get her soup. She's like, you cannot have my soup. It was very, very funny. He wanted her soup. I actually caught like a picture. Somebody had their map behind their, yep, here. Somebody was holding their map behind their back, and the deer actually grabbed the map and then ate it. And so it was like, well, that's that. So I took pictures of the deer eating the map. I thought that was funny. I was humored by the deer. The deer were great. So that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, deer are always like a kind of a. They could be a really fun thing, or they could be a problem.
Anything
the only
can
reason
happen.
why I say that they can be a problem is North Carolina.
Right.
And I'm you know what? I'm gonna restart this. I'm gonna start it like I'm on Golden Girls. Picture it. 1993. A young boy and his siblings are riding in a car, and all of a sudden they hear a loud thud. They turn around and realize that there is a deer that literally butt his head into their father's moving car that was going 25 miles an hour, and it made a dent. Moral of the story, when it says deer are around,
yep, be careful.
Be careful.
Yeah. For those who are wondering what Miyajima is, that's famous for this particular torii gate, the one that's out in the ocean. But what people don't realize is on the other side of this mountain, right back here, is Hiroshima. So this island almost got literally nuked. And it is an amazing thing that it did not, in fact, get nuked. So that is a thing. It's amazing. Somebody was having their wedding there. It was a really cool thing. So anyway, I had a great trip to Hiroshima and Miyajima. I liked those places. They were cool. Yes. Well, actually, I do believe that there was very strict intention to not blow up heritage sites in Japan. They worked really hard on that. I mean, not that it made it any better, but they were really working very hard to not blow up heritage sites. So, like, Kyoto was perpetually off limits, and there was sort of an unwritten agreement between the Japanese and the Americans that the Japanese wouldn't stockpile anything in Kyoto, and B, the Americans wouldn't bomb Kyoto. So it was sort of a unspoken sort of agreement for that. So there was that. For better or for worse. Morning, Patsy. We're having an interesting discussion about Japan, as usual. I have a horrible habit.
I was not the one that brought up the Japan discussion today.
Right? Well,
This
that's
was
all
all
right.
guy.
I was way high up, and I took pictures of this car with my really long lens.
Yeah. So
Because that's ridiculous. Here,
so
wait, let me highlight you.
here's the Gator Wrangler.
Okay. You're
So
like, let's
just
get back
like-
onto target, shall we?
Yep. This is my nice way of going, hey, yeah, we've derailed.
Yeah.
When do we not derail? But
Well, that's true. We do sort of have a penchant for derailment. A derailment.
yeah.
So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's see. What else do we have? So, Patsy, you just joined us. What we were saying was, I finished this painting, which I'm very proud of. It's a very pretty painting. I'm very, very excited. And we managed to break down a comic, which is good. I did it with this. So I've got this really special kind of sketchbook, which allows me to break a comic down into, it's specifically designed for making manga. So it's got breakdown pages, just breaking pages in the first half, and then the second half is actual like manga pages, which actually have all the, it's hard to see because they're blue line, but it has all of the blue markings that allow us to do that, which is cool. But I did manage to get the first 12 pages of Bellatrix Rising here broken down. So it's right here. And that's my exciting thing. And I've actually made all of the main pages. They are all right here. And I'm loading them up even as we speak. So I've been putting them into Photoshop to work this situation. So you can also see right here that now I've set up the main pages. And these will be worked on when we, it tells me what my print sizes are at the end. And I have them marked for Bellatrix Rising so that I'll remember which comic page this is later on. And then I just was explaining that I put the numbers on here. And I've got all the different layers going on here, like my sketch, the boxes, the refinement sketch, color, texture, and ink. So these are all the different layers that will ultimately be on here on these pages. And so the next thing to do is I just took photographs of all of those pages, and I'm going to bring them in to into these folders, but they still haven't synchronized. But what I've got is I took photographs of each one of those pages, and I'll bring those photographs into here. And then that way, that'll start sort of I've kind of done a, like 10,000 foot view of what each page should look like. And so then I'll just keep refining it and making it smaller. So I'm all excited. So we should start making actual pages next week, like real honest to goodness pages of Bellatrix Rising. Starting next week. Do what?
And if you don't?
And if I don't, you can come over here and slap me silly.
Okay.
Okay. He's like, I'm in. This is good.
Oh,
I
will get a few people to help me out with it.
Right. I think
I'll pick
I
up
can
Raph.
do about 2 pages a day at full speed. but I haven't done pages in a long time, so I'm not expecting miracles yet. I'm expecting that I'm going to have to get up to speed. That's what my first thought is. I'm going to have to get up to an actual speed.
So essentially, what I hear is, I will be working as slow as you, Pepper, on yours.
You got it. That is exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. Yep.
With all the insult intended, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and
I mean,
I was insulting myself in that,
insult.
so I mean, you can get away with it.
Right.
I'm just gonna stop drawing because, like, I am honestly, my neck is starting to hurt.
Yep.
That and the fact that I have been, like, Bill went to sleep last night. I stayed up, and I was like, okay, let me get to this page, and I'll go to sleep. And lo and behold, I got to that page at like 6 o'clock this morning.
Right.
So I'm like,
And then I'm messaging
I'll
you,
stay up.
and I'm like, "Are you ready to join me today?" And you're like, "Screw it, I might as well just stay up."
Yeah. I mean, and I think this is like a common artist problem, maybe just a creative in general problem. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning, Donald.
Your greeting, I literally want to go, my friend, Donald, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to feel like my cousin Hendrix, who's from Poland. It's weird. Maybe you can probably discuss this too. But like some of the things that you have to do as an artist, like sometimes it's just like, it's not the fact that it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's just like you need to get a job done, so you end up staying up. But you realize at a certain point, you can't go back to sleep until you normally go to sleep the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you go to sleep, like, say, after we're done with this discussion and I try to go to sleep, then
Right.
I won't wake up until nighttime.
Yep.
And it will throw off my entire day.
And that'll be the way you work from now on. Is you'll be sleeping during the day and working all night. And that's just brutal.
Yeah. And as much as I think I could possibly do it if I wasn't married, but since I am married, it makes it 10 times worse, because then that means it's like passing ships in the night, like on the way to the bed.
Right.
You know.
Well, and I mean, just like every house has operational things that need to be done. I mean, even if you're just talking about just doing the trash, there's like stuff that needs to occur. And if you're spending your entire time sleeping and the spouse is up, I have this problem with my wife too. She'll get up and I'll go to bed. Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, it works well sometimes, but then some other times it's like after a couple of weeks, we fail to communicate on things. There are things that are missing, like little things. Right now, we're in the process of just getting new pads for the swamp cooler, because that's what needs to happen, is just swap out those pads. It's not a big deal, but it requires coordination between her and me to get this to work. And if I'm sleeping all day, she can't coordinate with me. And then we can't fix it. It won't work. Yeah. I do have a tendency during the summer. You're absolutely right, Donald. I mean, by noon in here, it was getting to the point where my hands were so sweaty I couldn't hold my stylus, because as I wrote, my stylus would just slip like this out of my hand. And I'm like, oh, man. And it was getting, just because it was just so hot in here. Yeah. And, I'm in my little cubby over here, which this wall is a west-facing wall. So the sun in the afternoon just starts coming in right here. And it's like, until the sun goes past the mountains, this is a heat generating wall. And I'm just sitting here trying to work. And I'm like, wow, I'm dying. I am dying.
And this is, so we actually had that issue as well. When we had a
Hey,
Yeah.
Gen 4.
Yeah, so when we lived in the Springs, we actually had a room where we put our office in. And we were like, oh, this seems like a really good room to have put an office in, right?
Right.
No, was not. It basically became 98 degrees. It got full sun. It was direct, and it was full sun all day long. It never
Right.
left. We ended up getting a portable AC unit specifically for this room, and we ended up having to plug it into another outlet outside of the room because it worked too hard.
Right. And it
Um,
gets to the point where it trips breakers.
yeah,
That was what we were having.
and
I had a little portable AC unit, and then it literally threw a rod. I've never heard one throw a rod before, but this one did. It was sitting over there, and it went bang, 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 bam, and then threw a rod. I was like, well, that's the end of that.
yeah.
So,
Messages from Bill.
Little gem of advice, because this is a pet peeve of mine, and there's even a YouTube video about someone else calling out this pet peeve. They're the portable AC units. The popular ones are the ones with only one tube out of them. They're actually horribly energy inefficient.
right.
Because the way they work is they cool the radiator using the air from the room it just cooled, and then jets it out the window, which causes a negative pressure in your room, causing air to be sucked in from other locations around your home, like windows that aren't completely closed or cracks or door jams or wherever, which is pulling more hot air into your home.
Mm-hmm.
So you either want to get the window unit that you stick out the window, or they have, and they're few and far between, but they do exist, where they have two hoses where they pull air in and pull it back out. And it's like a mini split, but in one unit.
Right. Right. Yeah, I inherited my portable unit from my sister, because otherwise I would have done the same thing. Although in this room, this glass door is all I have. So it is a full size, dual glass door, and that's all I've got. There's no other window. Ultimately, I want to cut this zone out and put a window in right here for that very reason, so that there can be airflow and things like that. And I don't know why we've looked at this forever. I don't know why there's not a window there. It would allow me to see downtown Denver, which is this direction. And we're actually on a hill, and I can actually see downtown from here. And so it'd be really cool on, like, July 4th, we'd watch all the fireworks above downtown. It'd be great. Just sitting here, drink tea, and it'd be fine. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's a thing. But I agree that right now, of course, we've got a swamp cooler in the upper floor in the bedroom. So like what Gen 4 was talking about earlier, like totally is what I'm doing now. At about 2 p.m, I just go lay in the bedroom, and then I go to sleep. And I'm out for like an hour or two, because that's just what's going to have to happen for a while, because it's too hot in here. The office gets too hot. My computer starts to think about shutting down, and just like hers and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't want to mess with this, So I'm just taking naps now.
Yeah, I mean, that's good and all. I mean, I'm just surprised Patsy is still alive.
Well, it was like 1,053 degrees there the other day.
I know.
I'm amazed you're still with us, Patsy.
I'm surprised that anyone from there is still kicking.
Yeah. How are you still surviving down there in Phoenix when we know it was 1,000 degrees a couple of days ago?
Surprisingly enough, I did actually get a job interview for a company down in Phoenix, Arizona, at one point.
Only time I've spent any quality time in Phoenix was once I flew through Phoenix, and the plane had to be refueled, and then the plane had to have the APU replaced. And so it was going to be a quick fix, but it was going to take 2 hours. So they had us sitting out on the tarmac for 2 hours, and literally the plane could not cool us down. It was they ultimately had to deplane us and sit us in the terminal, because the plane was already getting into the 100-degree level, and the air conditioning was running, and they had one engine on the right side running because they were fixing the APU on the left side.
Yeah.
So they had the right engine running so that they could keep the air conditioning running in the airplane, and they just could not do it. Just sitting there. And I was like, this place, it's like Dante's Inferno all around us. And
Yeah,
so I was reading a good book during the time, but it was still a brutal flight.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have been fine. I mean, I grew up in Florida, so I mean, heat is not something I like. Ideally, I actually hate it. So like, give me Colorado, or like if I had to move anywhere else, I think I would move to Seattle or Maine.
I was going to say, I'm a Coloradan man all the way through.
Yeah. I
This
mean,
is
but
ridiculous. This is
if I
insane.
hadn't moved to Colorado, I think I would probably move to Washington or Maine. Those are the two that, because I like cold. I like bundling up. I like cold.
I can imagine that. And also the temperature, Patsy, when the temperature gets too hot, you can't get as much lift off of the wings.
Yeah.
And so they actually, it becomes really scary to try to fly out of there because they're having lift issues. So my buddy in Australia, or Patsy's and my buddy who lives in Australia, he and I were talking last night, and he's like, it's -4 here. And I'm like, -4? Man, I might wear a sweater at -4. And he's like, you're crazy. I'm like, what? I can't deal with 39, which is what we've been doing for the last week. It's been 39 degrees, and I'm like, I'm done. Over 30, I'm out. But -4, that's like what? That's barely like 29 degrees Fahrenheit. I can deal that. I could do that. I might wear a sweater.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I'm good there.
So to answer to Donald's remark, so I grew up in a town that had I grew up in a town that had a stadium and had training camps in Florida. And Florida spring is everyone's normal summer.
Right.
Okay, because summer in South Florida, where I grew up,
it's getting ugly.
It is not summer. It's the second layer of hell.
Right.
With mosquitoes. No. It's just gross. It's hot. It's muggy. It's like you walk outside and you don't even have to run or walk, and you feel like you're sweating. And it's
I went to the Cape in summer, and no.
But like,
I was at the Cape, and I was like, I'm at the Cape, yay! But I'm leaving.
Yeah, like you can actually get you can actually go and watch these players train at the stadium, and now they're like it's a tier system. So like the team that's in
it's
Jupiter,
the tears that dry off of your face is what you mean.
Yes, exactly. Because the Atlanta Braves actually picks their team from Jupiter, Florida, like one of the teams. Like so, it's like. So here's the AA, and then the AAA is the Atlanta Braves, and then Jupiter Hammerheads is where they pull players from when they want to upgrade them.
So if you have like C and D, they're bigger players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just making sure.
Yeah.
N players are the really tiny, short players.
N players are usually children.
Right. That's what we call little leagues.
Yeah, we call this little leagues, but they actually don't have N. They have AAA, the blah blah blah. Yes, and unfortunately, leading back to art. And speaking of
leading back to art, what? We're
going back to art. And speaking of heat stroke, I have drawn images of what is known as the Noon Lady. I cannot pronounce the Eastern European word for this particular spirit that they have there. Basically, the Noon Lady she basically appears in a delusional dream as a woman dressed in white, will lay a man or a woman that has been working in the fields on her lap, and proceed to make them hallucinate and basically other signs of heat stroke and heat exhaustion and anything dealing with heat. But if I ever actually do like another image of it, I think I would actually do it really fun, because basically she's supposed to be this extremely beautiful person, but once she starts doing this thing to the person that's in her lap, her face starts twisting and basically goes from beautiful to like quite maniacal, like psychotic looking.
Psychotic, huh?
Yeah, basically she's a spirit of like a woman that basically died in the middle of the day from dehydration.
Gotcha.
And so he said heat stroke isn't a painting euphemism, but like literally that is a painting. Like I could do a painting of that euphemism. So.
I have borderline.
And messages from Bill, folks. He had borderline heat stroke when he was in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so when we went to go visit Arizona for the first time after moving out to the Midwest, we actually like literally went down there, and the entire time Bill had like a water bottle in his hand. I had a water bottle. We were just chugging water.
Yeah, well, I mean, I practice martial arts with my friends in a field or in a park nearby, and we've literally been doing that since the 90s. I mean, like the same park, the same friends. We go out there, and now it's a matter of maintaining our bodies so that we don't, fall apart and die, because we're all getting really old. I have become fair weather now. I can only really join them during the winter and the spring, and then I can join them again in the fall. But we've already passed the line where if I go out there, my face turns red, I get heat exhaustion, and it doesn't matter how much water I have. I can have a ton of water, and it won't matter, because I will still totally come completely unglued. And ultimately, and I don't know it, part of it is that I get into the zone, I get into martial arts mode, and we're out there practicing, and I've got my sword and I'm swinging the sword and I don't even notice it. And then my wife is like, that's it, you're done, go sit down, get in the car, turn the AC on. And I'm like, what? I'm fine. And as soon as she says that and I snap out of the zone, I'm like dizzy, and I'm like, whoa, and she's like, yeah, you're out, go, because she's in the same class.
Yeah.
Which, she's from Hawaii though, so she handles the heat better. My wife, she's from Hawaii, so she does the heat a whole lot better than I do. I just can't. Like I said, 30's my line.
Well, the thing is like I've lived in Colorado since 2011.
Right.
So when I first moved here, I could still go back to Florida and have no issues. But now I go back to Florida and I have issues.
Yeah.
I have I cannot be outside in Florida heat at all anymore. Like it just annoys the hell out of me. But like living here, my family can't do the weather here in this state too.
Right.
For various other reasons, but also at the same time, segueing back into creating comics and everything. Speaking of weather,
can we discuss comics? Because we should discuss comics.
Yeah, we should discuss comics. Yes. Speaking of weather, I am wondering on how you are going to present weather in Bellatrix Rising when they're on a planet.
It depends on the area. I mean, Renham, their home world that they're on, is what we would call Class M in Star Trek. It's a moon of a gas giant, and it's been terraformed. Because learning a little bit about how the universe works, oxygen planets are actually remarkably rare, because it's easier for the mechanics of space makes carbon dioxide. So that's the nature of sun versus those chemicals. It makes carbon dioxide.
Mhm.
So it's easier for you to find a Mars than it is for you to find an Earth. So finding planets with oxygen atmospheres usually has some implication of plants of some sort, which is taking something that's processing the carbon dioxide and generating oxygen. One of the other things is discovering that ice ages capture carbon, and so they'll take the carbon out of the atmosphere. Rocks colliding with one another makes a carbonate, so that'll take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. But that still will leave you with things like nitrogen, and it'll leave you with argon and krypton and all of these like bizarre gases that Superman can't fly through. So it's a thing. So this is a terraformed planet. They did a mass terraforming of Renum and converted all of the carbon dioxide into oxygen. So it's not natural. So there's weather on Renum that's normal, but that's a homeworld, and we won't be there that often. Polaris has weather. That's the home ship. That's that really big home ship with a city on top.
Mm-hmm.
It has weather, but it's generated. Tomorrow at 10:30, from 10:30 to 12:30, we will have a thunderstorm. Everybody, please prepare accordingly. And at 10:30 exactly, the rain starts, and at 12:30 it stops. Right there. And so that way everything gets washed into the little rivers so they can be processed and cleared away and stuff like that. So weather is a interesting thought process because everything's going to be engineered.
Yeah, I mean, currently right now, the comic that I said that I was up all night basically working on, that one is taking place at predominantly at dusk and night towards the end, but like it starts off at night, and it's like a full moon, so it's like a clear sky, full moon, everything like that, like the most ideal thing. However, the first like two panels is actually rain. And so I got to draw rain in the first two panels of the campfire story that they are telling. And then there is an event of other weather that happens that forces them, the second part, forces them to go inside.
Are you asking practically how I do weather?
Me?
Yeah. Like, what's the practicality that I would do to do weather if I were to do weather?
I just wanted to know. I wanted to segue back into talking about drawing comics.
Drawing comics? Because I actually use, I'll use a, a zipatone. I don't know what my problem is. For rain. I like using the zipatones for backgrounds, but they've got a lot of great zipatones for rain too, and so I'm trying to find one now. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm downloading it. Hang on.
Well, I know we're talking about this, but when I was in,
It's downloading.
I can completely see an alien entity messing with his systems.
I'll wait until the download is done to share. Yeah.
But
like
no,
a Loki or a Q. I mean, that's definitely a thing. You end up with what Brent's talking about. Gee, we can't shut off the water. It's 12:32 and the rain is still falling. What's going on? And everybody in the city is panicking because, of course, that's
I would like to point out that whatever rain that they have, if they're on a recycled system, the chances of that water possibly coming from a toilet is high.
Right.
No, I just I was thinking about storytelling like one day and how weather kind of goes into storytelling, especially in comics, like in a very specific, meaningful way at times. And then other times people don't pay any attention whatsoever to what it's supposed to be. So it's interesting, to say the least.
I actually agree. I mean, it's like you don't think about how the weather works until you have to actually deal with the weather. You know?
Yeah. But while we were talking, I did do the grandma character.
Well, okay. We got to full screen you for that. Hang on. I
Yeah.
can't get control. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
So we have the Gator Wrangler head here, and that's the grandma character. So yeah.
Nice. Yep. So, I mean,
Leather seats, the tone of many a story drawings. Yeah. The other thing is how characters talk about the weather is just as important to a story sometimes as showing the weather from the world.
right.
Because like I have characters that I base off of real people from my life growing up, and one of them is my grandmother, my dad's mother, and I love her to pieces. But that woman can talk about weather, like she can talk about weather.
There we go.
And Bill has a grandma that can do that too. Right, Bill? As he responds,
Uh-huh.
Um,
I don't know where my mouse is. There's my mouse. There we go.
and,
So, yeah.
it's just like, and that's what like it is. It's like it is kind of like in our culture we do talk about the weather. A lot of people are like, oh well, if you talk about the weather, you're just kind of not sure what you're supposed to talk about with this person, and it's like, no, sometimes talking about the weather is just as telling as when you don't talk about it.
It is a thing. Yeah.
It is a thing among humans.
So.
But segueing back and kind of like leaving comics for a little bit because I kind of want to bring this up. Disney's new Disney and Pixar's new movie Luca has dropped today.
Yes, I want to see that.
I
want to see it really badly.
And it has Italian vocal art of the Italian mermaid.
Okay.
Attached to it. So I am super happy to actually do that.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to have to watch that at some point here because it's definitely one of my... So, Donald, you were absolutely right there. There are a lot of touchstones that we have to do to make us empathize with a character. The scene that I'm writing right now, 12 pages, is literally Captain Chang talking to the previous ship AI, which can be very disassociated. Like, but remember, we have already established here on the show, we've already established that AIs are treated as if they are just other people. They're just a different race of other people, but they're considered part of the crew and part of the family and stuff like that. So this particular AI has gotten a promotion, and she's been promoted off of the Kitty Wake and has been promoted to the Red Dragon. And the scene is the AI saying, no, it'll have an actual form. There are hollow emitters in every location except in the shuttle bays, where they're not permitted to use holograms in the shuttle bays because it'll distract ships that are trying to dock. But there are hollow emitters everywhere. So you can walk down the street right next to your AI buddy who's walking down the street with you, even though the AI buddy is not really there. So it's like putting a holodeck in everywhere. And part of that is cultural. There are a couple of races that cannot exist in an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere. And so in order for them to interface with the humans, they have to be projected as a hologram, One of them is the Jacine. The Jacine is like a jellyfish, an armored jellyfish. It lives in high pressure environments. It's a gas giant life form. So it lives in the upper clouds of a gas giant. So where they keep these Jacine are underneath the decks or above the decks of the ships are a different deck that's high pressure. And that's where they actually live. But they project themselves holographically into the hallways. So they're just floating along the hallways all the time, and you'll see them floating along, and you can go, "Hey, Bob," and it goes, "Hey, George," and it goes along and goes to its little job where it puts its little tentacles on things and pushes buttons. So now we know what happens in the holodecks. See you later, Patsy. Thank you for joining us. Good to have you here. So that's so the AIs can live on there anyway. So that was the whole thing I was trying to say. TLDR, Donald, I've been trying to figure out a way, and I talked a little bit about it on the show yesterday, to make the scene between two talking heads effectively accessible. And one of the things I did was little things to connect to the world. Chang wakes up in bed, and her AI buddy is in her room with her because she gave the AI the keys, but Chang is somewhat hungover and not doing so well this morning. So she's a little confused and a little disoriented, and she's like reaching for her slippers, and she only finds one, and it looks like it's been torn up somehow. And, like I'm giving her business, things to do in the scene. And so there's like 3 layers of things that you want to do. Right? And bad uses of right? So of holodecks, you mean? We got the AI holograms to clean up the holodecks. So yeah, that's the thing that I've really been kind of working on is how do you make 2 talking heads who are just yammering at each other accessible, real, and make it something that you can approach. And a good way to do that is to put them in a rainstorm or, put them in a windstorm or something like that. In this instance, I've got business that I gave, and I'm borrowing the term business from theater. Business is when you have an actor who has to pick up a thing and mess with a thing during his speech. This is business. We give him something to do so he's not just standing there going, So, okay, I am done with my arc. You were going somewhere.
I am basically saying that I am trying to stay awake, but I am definitely
falling asleep.
Everything's catching up now.
You're getting hit.
Yeah.
It's
caffeine
10:20.
is withdrawing from my system. I'm having a hard time keeping my eyes open.
I understand that. Well, it's actually okay because I think we've run out of things to say pretty much. What are you going to do over the next week? What's your battle plan?
I hope to have the comic, at least part 1, done, completed, and on its way to the printers by Monday. I'm going to have this, what I was working on, the initial sketches. I'm going to do a little bit more refined sketches before sending them off. And I have to start on the script. And I also have to get it approved so that it goes into the anthology so that we can do the actual thing. Pages. I also have to search for images and all of that fun stuff too. What else? Oh, I have to do one advertisement for one of the people that I'm contracted with to do that for a cryptid and paranormal museum based out of North Carolina, which is going to be fun. It's just a banner ad that I have to do, and it's really fun.
And you're looking forward to that. That seems like a nice one-off piece.
Yeah, it's just I just have to do a little bit I just have to do a little bit of what they've made me focus on at the museum, and then I get their local cryptid. I get to draw that too, so that's actually kind of fun. Yeah, I have to get that all done by next week and approved and everything. And oh god, this is very.
You have a lot to do next week, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Oh, and on top of that, I have to make paint next week.
You have to make what?
I have to make a bunch of paint next week.
You have a bunch of paints.
I have to make a whole bunch of paint. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
sounds
like
brutal.
I'm slightly laughing because like I'm starting to realize how exhausted I really am.
Yeah, well, you've been up all night. You're pushing 24 hours on this one. Honestly,
No,
frankly,
let's just say I'm already past my 24-hour mark.
right. Frankly, we are not spring chickens anymore. We can't do 24 hours anymore. That's actually what I was saying a couple of days ago. I love 24s and 24s, but I can't do them anymore.
Yeah,
I end up having to do 2 12s.
I'm like, I am not even 40, and this is hitting me like a ton of bricks all of a sudden. Like, where'd my youth go? Where'd my youth go? The only thing that's different right now is like I feel like I should have like 6 children, and I didn't sleep through the night because they kept asking for things. That's what I feel like right now.
A ghost dog. Yeah. I agree with Donald. Sleep depravity can be good for you sometimes, but I don't find it to be. Like I said, I get a point of diminishing returns. There comes a point where I'm like, it's not going to get better, and I'm just going to make more mistakes. And so I have to bow down at some point in time and say, that's it. I'm out. I know this is going to be 12 hours late, but I can't do anymore.
Let's just say I'm already past my 24-hour mark. The chest stuff is starting to happen to me now, so I'm definitely in sleep depravity. So for me,
so I think I'm going to bow you out here 30 minutes early. You can go on ahead and leave, and so I will hang with the rest of the guys here because we got a few people here still which are chatting, and we can talk more about where we're going with Bellatrix Rising because I'm wide awake. I even took my Adderall, so I am wired and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to work.
I'm so happy that you can take the Adderall.
Right?
I'm not, but
don't take the Adderall now. You need to go to bed.
All right. I already had a tea, Donald. Basically, this was filled with tea at the very beginning of the show. Once I ran out, I'm done.
Yeah. Pepper will get a second wind.
No, I will not.
No, Pepper.
I'm not getting a second wind.
So Pepper, let me give you a word of advice, Pepper. Go set an alarm for 3 hours.
Oh, that won't work either. I'm just gonna have to go until I go.
Well, I'm just saying, set an alarm for 3 hours so that it will wake you up in 3 hours. That way, you'll get enough sleep to continue limping along, but it won't keep you from sleeping tonight. As someone who's done this, I recommend that highly. Go set a 3-hour timer, or 4 if you feel like you need 4. But go set a 4-hour timer, and then that way you'll still be tired tonight enough to go to bed. But if you go to bed and sleep now, you'll sleep 8 hours, and then you'll be fine at like 9 tonight.
You're talking like as if I'm a normal person. I don't even get 8 hours of sleep when I'm normal.
I'm trying to convince people to start doing that. That's how we kill
I'm getting
ourselves.
sleep deprived. I'm gonna start arguing soon. I'm sorry. Okay. I need to go.
And it's all good. Go away. I love you. Go away.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So that's Pepper. Ladies and gentlemen, Pepper. Well. So to answer some of your questions, the AI I don't know if the AI would be. Yep, that's what I was thinking is like 3 hours. It's all he needs is 3 hours. It'll give him enough to go through two cycles, because 2 45-minute cycles. Actually, four cycles, right? Because it'd be 4 45-minute cycles, and that's what we do. We humans stuck in 45-minute cycles. I need to convince that guy to sleep more. That's a real problem. Like, we don't sleep enough. And as I have grown older, I am having You're still here, Brent! But as I grow older, I'm having problems sleeping more and more. I've always been sort of an insomniac, but I am now taking paying serious attention to try to get to 8 hours of sleep every night if I can. And I'm working really hard on it, because as I start pushing 50, the lack of sleep will start catching up with me, and I know it. It's going to start taking years off my life, and I've got too much to write. So I've got too much to do. I can't die. Oh, well. To answer your question there, Donald, the AI would be sympathetic, I'm sure. I don't know if the AI would suffer from that, but I feel like AIs would suffer from similar but different problems. Like they would be, transmitted. Maybe it's slightly painful to be transmitted into a crappy older holo projector or a damaged holo projector. You know, you're walking down the street and somebody runs a car into a holo projector, and it hurts the AI because the holo projector starts to fritz out and the code going between there gets all scrambled. So the AI starts to feel sort of a pain. Yes. And I have to think about that one too. I'm not aware of that series, but I figured I'm not the first person to think of AIs as just normal folks. Like, you know, the 6 of you out there, there's 5 of you out there. Gen 4, I think you of all people are eternal because you have to keep doing stuff. And you have so much stuff on your plate now that I'm just going to leave stuff to you so that you will keep working on it after I'm long gone, because you will be here years and years and years and years after I'm dead, because you still have work to do on this planet. So of all the people. So Gen 4, Jenny and I went to high school together, if you're wondering. So we've known each other for a while, a year or two. And I just like my buddy Nathaniel, whom I showed up yesterday and got the saxophone that I borrowed from him in high school, which I have had in my basement since high school. So the man's got the patience of a saint. I'm just saying, he's a wonderful human being. He managed to put up with that for all these years. What's so interesting is that Jenny and Nat and I were what we call a triad, which is in the school that we were in an alternate education school, and they grouped the new, They grouped the new students with older students, so seniors and juniors, so that you can get the ropes, learn the ropes. And so I was linked with Jenny and Nat, and the 3 of us were linked together for a whole year, and we were like supposed to support each other and get, make sure everybody sort of do the same thing we're doing here on this show, which is making sure everybody stays on their projects and keeps going. He and Jenny both look the same. If you looked at pictures of them in high school and you look at them now, they look the same. Me, I look completely different. So like the next time the 3 of us are together, I'm going to have to find a picture of the 3 of us. Gen 4, if you've got a picture of the 3 of us at all, anywhere, we'll get the picture of the 3 of us, and then we should pose in the same way just to prove this point. He looks the same. Jenny looks the same. I look radically different. It's like so weird. Genetics is bizarre to me. It's like, yes, he's a wonderful guy. And he's been, the thing that gets me is some of the stuff he's talked about. Like, he's been in the Army since '88. And I'm like, what? But he joined the Army in 1988 and he's still in. And it's like, I look totally different. My own advisor didn't recognize me. Dana did. But that's because Dana was creepy. She had ethereal powers. I'm just saying. When she met me for the first time in like 20 years, and she went, Guy Pearce. No, that's an actor. And I was like, you recognize me? And she's like, yeah, your eyes haven't changed. And I'm like, yes, actually, Jen, if you have pictures at all from school, dig them out. I will take pictures with my phone because actually my phone does a wonderful job of scanning now. I mean, it's good enough. I'd love to scan it with my big scanner back there, but the truth is our phones work just fine now. And I'll clean them up and everything like that. Yes, but to be fair, Jen, you and I have been near each other, close to each other for the last intervening however many years. So, you know, yep, it is true. All of you military guys, you're on it, doggone it, and you're up and moving while the rest of the world sleeps and stuff. Lots of respect. Well, I guess you kind of know that I respect military guys. I mean, that's sort of part and parcel. I just realized this light's out. Why is this light out? That's weird. This light just conked. I don't know what it did. There we go. Now it's deconked. Just needed interruption there. Oh, cool. That'd be beautiful. All we need to do, like I said, just take your phone and go click, and try not to make sure that they're not blurry. But that's all we need. And so that's a thing. Anyway, more stories. Yes. So the first 12 pages, we've got them rigged right here. I've got all the layouts pre-designed. Like right here, we've got all these layouts set up. So that's going to be good. I'm proud of a few things that I did here. I start on an all black page and I end on an all black page. I like the synergy of that, the symmetry of it. And it's good. It's a good multi-page thing. I did a lot of good work with it. I'm pretty proud of that. So like I said, if you guys are interested, go see yesterday's show because that's where I broke it all down. If you guys want to get spoilers too. If you don't want spoilers, don't watch yesterday's show because it's going to take me a couple of weeks. So, but that's all right. So anyway, Gen 4, are you writing at this point? Are you doing any writing or are you just still concentrating on schoolwork? Because if so, you could do an artist check-in. Thanks, Brent, for rewatching. You don't need to rewatch. It's not a requirement. So, yes, actually, I feel like all of these AI holograms are good. Well, then you can check in as well. Where are you and what are your goals for next week? So answering your question, Donald, I believe, well, the AIs have emotions and feelings just like everybody else. They just get them from a different source. So they're going to do all of the various things that you're going to. So yeah, they'll get jealous or, I mean, I'm sure that just like humans, they'll get jealous and then decide this is probably not a very functional thing to do in society, so I probably shouldn't be jealous, So I get the feeling that there will be a lot of kind of that. So are you moving out of the house that you've been in for this entire time, Jen? Because you're just down the street. Are you moving to some new location that's not just down the street? Because I just told Nathaniel that you were just down the street. So I'm getting a lot of moving vibes from you. Like you're moving. I mean, it's a thing. So I'm hoping that you don't move too far away. I mean, not like we've been sitting in each other's, porches or anything like that. And, but So that serial killers. That's another thing. I feel like a house in Bennett. Oh yeah, okay. But you bought a house. Congratulations. That's rough in this market. Ever. I mean, I was just talking to my real estate buddy yesterday, and he was saying he had to turn people down because they had only $10,000 down, and they were looking, and that meant that they only qualified for $250,000 worth of house, which means that he could only find them mobile homes, and that's it. And it was like, really? Because this house isn't $250,000. They have a nice library. Well, and you can't go too far because you've still got to. Your husband still needs to go to work and do his work thing. So there's still that. So I get that. Oh, that's kind of cool. Makes sense. So anyway, yeah. For you, Ghost Hand, just I don't know if you've heard or not, but the U.S. is having real problems right now with the housing markets. Real estate's going bonkers, and some states like Colorado, is there's something really screwed up about our market, but our market has gone through the roof. In 2012, I bought this house for $174,000, and it's a nice 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2-story house in a very nice neighborhood in suburbia. It's now worth almost $500,000 because everything went wonky after 2012. And so the fact that we bought this house before the bubble is an astonishing thing. Yeah, I'm worried. That's what I'm most worried about, Brent. I'm worried that it will explode, that something bad's going to happen. It won't just pop and we won't return. Something really horrible is going to happen to our market, or something bad's going to occur. I'm concerned about this. But I mean, since 2012, it's only been 10 years, and this house has literally doubled in value, if not more, in just 10 years. And I'm not going to sell it because A, I like the house a lot. It's a nice house. But B, it's where would I go? I would only be able to rent a house from here on out because everything is in the $400,000 or $500,000 range now, and it's just mind-boggling. So the fact that Jenny managed to pull it off is amazing to me. I was very worried about Brent when Brent was talking about he was having to move. And he actually moved to a different state. So Kansas is actually not in as bad a shape as Denver, unless you're like in the Topeka area, like in downtown Topeka or something like that. But for the most part, the rest of Kansas is still pretty nominal, I guess, as far as land value goes. So, I worry. Wow. Yeah, I know. You moved to Kansas. We miss you already. Worst part is we're starting to actually kind of consider doing in-person gaming again. And you're in Kansas. And so that's just going to be sad. We're just all going to cry a lot because we're going to miss you. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt moving to Bennett is probably the only option you had. I don't. I mean, the land values here are insane. Yeah, you were in Kansas for a funeral, which I remember you talking about that. We're at that age, aren't we? We're all at that age. It's going to start happening more and more. And that's not good. So, So anyway, I don't know why we're talking real estate. I'm looking forward to this week. I think that I can probably, I know I'll be able to get 2 or 3 pages done. I'm hoping to get more. We got 12 pages in this comic, so hoping that I can pull in more than that. Excellent. We will see you at Hexacon. I don't even know when Hexacon is. Yeah. I figured you meant 2022. 2021's already over. But yeah, Hexacon's good. That one's a good one. So anyway, okay, guys, well, I might leave 15 minutes early. You guys are all here, and it's really cool, but we're talking about real estate. We're talking about real estate. Yes, MLK weekend. And hopefully, by then, I'll be tabling at Hexacon 2022. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. So you'll be able to come up to my table. But since that's a gaming con, I will be doing commission work at that convention. So Nate actually has had so much business that he's going to take a break. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, I'm hoping to start tabling in 2022. I was going to table in 2020. Obviously, that didn't happen. And so kind of went and retooled and restructured everything. And now I'm working on Bellatrix Rising, which is a good story, and I think it's solid. And did all of 2020 doing world building, and now we're in 2021, and we're starting to actually lay down art and putting in actual artwork. So we'll have that ready to go. And I think by 2022, I'll be tabling. I still have an outstanding table that I paid for at YAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA help RAF. So we should be able to actually legitimately start picking up table space at different conventions over 2022, and I should be tabling there. So you'll be able to find me at the tables. And I'll have product, we'll have artwork that we can sell and stuff like that. So that should be good. I have this new concept for shadowboxing cells. So I'll be doing shadowbox cells, and I'll sell those at the convention too. And that should be nice and really interesting and very different and unique, I feel like. So we'll be doing that as well. And it should be a good thing. I think we'll be moving along nicely. That's what I think will happen. So that's where we're going to be in 2022. That's my battle plan. So I know that I can't imagine why I wouldn't be tabling at Hexacon. I have not actually talked to Destin, so I shouldn't just assume. However, I will be talking to Dustin at some point here, so we can go on ahead and pretty safely say I'll be at Hexacon, hoping that I'll also be at the Sakura Festival in 2022 when it comes back in. So that'll be good. So Mile High Con's looking good this year. I don't table at Mile High Con because usually we operate as Geek Tank there. Have you seen the Shadowbox cells that I'm talking about? Let me show you what I'm talking about there, Jen. Because I got this idea. A while back. And it is right here. But the idea is, this is the concept that we're working on at this point in time. But the idea is to take these plastic containers and make these cells inside these plastic containers. So you end up with the character inside these containers. This isn't taped in or constructed, and I've got the ability to whoop. I did these on 2 different cells. So if I really want to, I can do a 3-layer version of this where she's even behind the trees to some degree. But this is my newest project, and I'm going to sell these at conventions because they're really nice and they look cool. And I get things like this cool like sparkle paper, and I put it behind it, and it's all really nifty looking and looks extremely 70s. But, you know, technically I'm a child of the 70s, so there is that. I have seen Bradley's glass art, and he's doing some incredibly cool stuff. And so, like, I hope that Bradley gets around to, speaking of, I hope he can start tabling and stuff like that at places, because he should be. Yeah, it's like a modern pop-up book. Yes, Donald. Also, Brent's right. Indie K is on. And by September, we're going to be live, and I'm actually somewhat worried about Indie K at this point in time, because I feel like it's going to be the first real big con after everything lifts and gets, so we are going to be flooded and we're all going to die. I'm worried that I feel like I should be doing the Indiana Jones thing where he's in the box and goes, "We are going to die." You know, I feel like there's going to be so many people there. So, yeah, I can see that. I mean, he's working it, you know, over there in the studio. So, but if he ever decides he wants to try to table at a convention or something like that, tell him to give me a call and give me a holler. Obviously, you know, Bradley and I talk all the time, so I'm not really worried necessarily that Bradley can't communicate with me. But yeah, have him give me a holler, and I'll help him get into the tabling and stuff like that and get into that part. All he needs to do is just, you know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we have to do to prep for a table, obviously, but I think that would be a good thing for him to get the word out and stuff like that. Some of the stuff that he does would go really well. Yeah, it's not wargaming. I mean, you'd have to talk to Troy about that, because Troy's in charge of our live gaming room at IndieK. Right? Brad talks to me. Yeah. No, Brad doesn't talk to me. We argue. Brad and I are happy as clams, arguing until the cows come home. Oh, I am humored by this so much. No, Bradley and I love to argue. We will argue. We will get together at like solstice and argue. We will argue and argue. And it's a happy argument. It is never angry between the two of us, which is great, because I will blissfully and happily argue with him until like until the apocalypse comes. I will still and I hope he knows that I enjoy it, and I hope he enjoys it as much as I enjoy it, because I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. There aren't a lot of people that I feel comfortable arguing with, you know. So it's a good thing. It's one of my highlights, even though both I'm sure you, Jen, and my wife are wondering what in the world's gotten into us. So, but that's okay. That's okay. We are happy, so it is all good. It's a blissful thing. We are all good. So, anyway, yes, I'm worried. Not only that, Donald, IndieK is at the Gaylord, which is like, yes, and we are debating. To be fair, he is good at he follows good debate rules most of the time, And that has always been one of my pet peeves because my mom was a state champion debater. And so I grew up learning all of the logical fallacies, and I wasn't allowed to use them in the house and, and stuff like that. So my mom would do like all of that stuff. You know what? We could talk about where the conventions are. This week's Geek Tank is going to be about social media, and social media, not overload per se, not in the literal sense, but social media, having to control too many social medias. Because I had to join Alignable recently, which is a small business social media. So it's for small businesses. And local small businesses. So it connects all of the Arvadin businesses together. And, my reach goes to Denver, and that's about it. So we are doing Geek Tank now on Monday nights, Donald. We've moved to Monday nights. So you can, because Chelsea can't do Thursdays at all. And so we were just getting to the point where it was either Troy and I did Geek Tank, or if we wanted Chelsea to join us, we'd have to move to Monday. So we've moved to Monday, so it's not on your karaoke night. So that's a good thing. So anyway, that's join us. It's totally cool. This week we'll be talking about having too many social medias to control, which, to be fair, this restream is an excellent example of how to manage multiple social medias. It's right now going out on all three of my Facebook pages, which is the Quar Art Collective, or Quack, my GS Davis page, and it should be on my personal page. Yeah, it says it's on my personal page. And it's also going out on YouTube and Twitch, and it's going out on Periscope. So it's out on my Twitter pages as well. So I'm broadcasting to all of those at the same time right now, which is extremely useful because that's too many pieces for me to control. I can't get, Restream doesn't know how to control LinkedIn and other things. So you can't make comments on my YouTube page? That's important to know. I thought we could, because there was somebody a few weeks back that came in via YouTube, and I thought that was a very strange, I hadn't seen. All of you guys over here, you could see you have all icons depending on what social media you're coming in on. I'll have to figure that out. Why isn't it doing that? Technically, I also stream out on Picardo, but Picardo hasn't let me log in for a while. And no rush. I appreciate you doing that, Brent. You do that a lot. You'll go in and mess around with Twitch to see if Twitch is working right. You're my band hammer when those goofy guys come, which was another thing. Yesterday, I was on. I had done this entire broadcast where I'd broken the script, and we had broken it into pages, and I'd done all of my panels, and I was so excited. And the last 10 minutes of the show, nobody had been there the entire day, and I'm not making you guys feel guilty. I'm just observing. Nobody had been there, and then at the last 10 minutes of the show, this British guy, I think he's British, pops in and he goes, "What are you going on about?" And I'm like, "I'm writing a comic." And he's like, "Oh, okay. What do you think of the game between Ukraine and North Macedonia?" And I'm like, it was like, not a sports guy, really. My mom was a sports nut, and I think she burned me out. But can't comment on YouTube. I'll have to. Didn't let you in. That's interesting. That would explain why nobody was here. If you couldn't get in, then nobody was here. If there was some kind of glitch that wouldn't let you get into the show, that would explain a whole lot. But yeah, He was asking me about, and I'm like, if I have any allegiances between those two teams, I guess I'd be aligned with Ukraine, only because I have a buddy from Ukraine. But I mean, that's a minor thing. Huh? You just thought I took the day off? Like, the whole show is gone. That's all right. You can be busy at work. That's totally fine. And nobody has to watch the show. It's not an obligation. I just was, I get no feedback if nobody's here. Like, yeah, I wonder if maybe our grid and our internet is getting a little over hot. I mean, technically speaking, we're already at 29 degrees outside, guys. My line is 30. Anything above 30, and I am no good. No good. No good at all. Luckily, it seems to still be pretty moderate in the office here, but I don't have faith that that's going to stay working. So I know you do, Brent. I don't feel like you're, abandoning me. You got work to do, bro. Do your work. So I don't know. I mean, so here's my thought, Gen 4. If you're writing, I'll let you have the next week off, but only next week. So, no, it's cool. You guys move. When you guys settle in, though, why don't you? Yeah, see, that's me. I'm just like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with clothes. I'm done with. That's it. I'm done. Right? I'm just gonna go sit in front of my. In fact, that's pretty much what the rest of the family has been doing here. They're just starting to get to the no clothes sort of stage. It's funnier when you're 11 than it is when you're 48, but that's okay. That's all right. So anyway, yeah, so Gen 4, I give you a reprieve to move, but once you're done moving, you should log in here and check in with us on Fridays so that you can set goals like we do. Because I know you're not a comic artist, but you are an author, and you do probably have a book that you are working on in a manuscript, and we could set you could set goals, and we could help you do it by threatening to come out to your house and kicking you. Right? This is a thing. Think of it as governance, but on a small scale. It's a triad meeting. You're just meeting with one of your triad. We become a doodad, as we used to say. So you and I could be a doodad, right? That's totally the thing. I think that might. So we've got a little teeny air conditioning unit in the downstairs window. And it's like one of those little, cools one room, but it's now trying to cool the entire living room. See, doodads, it works. Okay, you've got to unpack, Brent. That's your goal for this week. Donald, you have to survive this week. Gen 4, you have to pack and unpack. So we've got lots of packing going on, a lot of moving going on. And we've got about 2 weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks until we are heading back to Texas. So Pinky and the Brain Minute. Okay. Oh, you're going to take it over in a year. So in Bellatrix Rising, the first officer of the ship's name is Bennett. And so I'm humored that this has become a thing, that you're actually going to live in the first officer of the ship. So you'll be be like a small minor infection in her or something. It'll be funny. You're not wrong. Yeah, Gen 4 is a force of nature. So that would not, in fact, surprise me. Super out there, super in people's faces, yada, yada, yada. That's her personality. So it's all good. There's a reason why we're friends and have been for years. So, because we're both just extroverted weirdos Okay, guys, it is 11 o'clock. I haven't heard from Ghost Hand in a while. I think we kind of shut him down. I didn't mean to. Hope you're still out there, Ghost Hand. If not, now that I have learned how close you are to the equator, though, I'm not as worried about you freezing to death. I'm now much more worried about Dean out there in Australia at his whole -4, where he's like, crying, and he's a wimp. Yep, well, that depends, because technically it's also 2 if you're Ghost Hand, right? Got to cover it all. And Gray, who I haven't seen Gray in a while, but where they are, it's like 6 in the afternoon, and there's that. And then we had that one fellow from South Korea, which it's the middle of the night. I don't get anybody from Japan for that very reason. It's 5 p.m. somewhere. That's what they say. So let's all go get drunk. Okay, guys. I will see you all Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. And for those of you who are here in the heat capital of the universe, stay cool. And it's good to chat with all of you, right? It's cocktail hour. Well, that's what he was saying. He's like, he's in Melbourne, right? And he's like, I'm in Australia and I can't handle it. And I'm like, I might wear a sweater. So I will see you all later. If you wish to join me, I'll be back Monday for Springs Monday. We will do a Springs comic. And if we've got time after the Springs comic, we'll start working on Bellatrix Rising. I probably will have already pinned in a couple of pages by then, because I can't wait. So anyway, you know how this all goes. It was wonderful talking to you all, and I will see you all later. And until then, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye. Computer, good night.